When the girl returned to the dorm, she accidentally noticed a strange number 1 appeared at the stairwell on the 8th floor. Before she could figure out what was going on, she heard that her roommate had gone missing. Last night, her roommate had seen her on the stairs, but when the lights in the stairwell suddenly went out, she vanished. Her roommate, upon hearing this, dismissed it as nonsense, thinking they must have seen it wrong. But then the girl continued, saying that every year, a few people disappear from their dorm building for no reason, and no one can figure out why. The girl immediately told her to stop saying such things. Reluctantly, a few of them went off to work, and for a while, they forgot about the missing roommate. Another coworker invited them to go for barbecue, but the girl was under a tight work deadline, so she declined. When she returned to the dorm with her roommate, she received a message from her coworker. The two of them stared at the tempting barbecue, salivating, but when they looked up, they were shocked to see their coworker leap past them. No matter how the roommate questioned her, the coworker didn't respond. Until they reached the 8th floor stairwell, the coworker finally stopped. But just as she did, the hallway lights flickered. When the roommate looked again, the coworker had disappeared. Curious, the girl caught up to ask her about it, but when she looked up again, the number 1 on the wall had changed to 2. At this point, the roommate was more focused on the disappearance of the coworker, worried about her situation. She hurriedly dragged the girl back to the dorm. They knocked on the door for a long time, but no one answered. This only deepened the roommate's worry. Reluctantly, she took out her keys and opened the door, but when she did, there was no sign of their coworker. Only another roommate was there, who said she had been in the dorm the whole time and hadn't seen her come back. The group had no choice but to sit and wait, but even by midnight, there was still no sign of their coworker. They had called several times, but the coworker didn't pick up. Now they were really anxious, so they decided to go and look for her. But just as they reached the door, they heard a strange knocking sound, and they froze in place, terrified. Finally, the girl bravely opened the door, but suddenly 2 figures appeared outside. Their former neighbor's roommate had also disappeared. That was when they realized something was wrong. They told the roommates about the missing coworker, and then they started to talk, saying they had heard that a murder had occurred in a dorm room in this building, and it seemed to be their own dorm. Also, at midnight, a white figure would float by the balcony. At this point, the girls were horrified, but then a gust of cold wind blew through, and as they calmed down, they realized it was just a draft. The roommate angrily complained, saying they shouldn't tell such scary stories in the middle of the night. The girl agreed, and since they couldn't reach either of the 2 roommates, they decided to go downstairs and search for them. Before they went downstairs, the girl looked at the number by the stairwell one last time. But as soon as they had gone down, the lights flickered again. Then a shadow appeared coming up from below. The girls held their breath in fear, but the next second, the lights returned to normal, and they saw it was just the dorm supervisor coming up to check the curfew. The girls hurriedly explained that 2 roommates were missing, and they were going downstairs to search. But as soon as they said this, the supervisor was stunned. The roommate pulled her aside, pleading for her to lift the curfew so they could search for the 2 missing girls. But upon hearing missing, the supervisor suddenly exploded in anger, saying the 2 of them had actually been moved to a dorm on the 1st floor.